Hi, thank you for tuning in again to Insights with David Munson Jr. Glad to have you with us today. Got a really interesting guest today, a father who's devoted his life to helping children like his child overcome the challenges of autism, and an example of how a parent can turn a seeming tragedy into a fulfilling life work, trying to really change people's lives for the better in a oftentimes unseen epidemic of autism that exists in this country. So with me today is Dan Burns. Hi, Dan.
Hey, David.
So
thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, glad to have you on. And you've written a book, and you've started a nonprofit to help autistic. How does your nonprofit function differently, maybe, than, and the goals of it differently than some other organizations?
Well, our nonprofit is producing a web series about young adults and teens with autism. It's based on a ranch that I had in the Austin area in 2012, and the experiences I had there with kids like my son Ben. The difference is, we'll see on TV, well, this season, for example, series like The Good Doctor. It's an ABC series about an autistic savant who has a degree in medicine, and he uses his special skills to save lives and overcome his deficits. It's a great series. I mean, I've watched the pilot, but the problem with that is it goes back to the old Rain Man syndrome, is that it propagates the idea that people with autism have savant abilities, and actually that's very rare.
Right.
The people that we see on TV now with autism are usually high functioning, and we're not getting the full spectrum. So my web series will show a broader piece of the spectrum.
Why don't we watch a short clip of your video series coming up here that I think the audience will enjoy seeing.
Okay, but before you run it, let me tell you, this is rough footage that was just shot Saturday.
Okay.
It's been edited in order, but we don't have the sound effects put in, we don't have the transitions, but it will give you a view of my son with autism. He's severely impacted, wonderful, wonderful person. It will give you a view of autism that maybe you haven't seen.
Okay, well, so here you're going to see some rough cut footage from the new web series that should be eye-opening for people. So here it is.
It's a 10-minute call. The bus is early.
Benji, get up!
Let's pack.
Okay. Here, spring water.
Mushrooms?
Yeah, it's in the chicken and noodles. There we go.
Trail mix.
Trail mix. And veggies.
Is that it?
That's it. I'll go get them. Want a pancake? Looks like a cookie. Okay, there you go. You want it?
No, put it in your mouth.
Wish the bus would get here.
Hold on, it's a dispatcher. Yeah? Well, he had a rough night. Just give him a minute or two. All right? Thank you.
How many minutes did he say? What did he say?
5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. She's here. Let her wait. He's got to eat. Go ahead, Ben. Have a pancake. Ben, you've got to eat. Ben, one more brush of the teeth, okay? Right? Watch me. 1, 2, 3, 4. You do it now. Brush. One more time. Brush. Yeah? No? No. Okay. All right. Give him this ticket.
Ben, here's your
Ben,
ticket.
here's your ticket.
Bus. Go. Got it? All right.
There you go.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Well, I hope he has a great day at workshop.
Yeah.
So I hope you've enjoyed seeing that early, promo cut of the show, and I hope that you will tune in to his website and get a chance to see it when it goes online later this year. So you're trying to raise awareness among people that not all autistic children are savants and that many of them have real issues to overcome, right?
You know, I have several positions, I guess you call them, in the autism community. I'm a contributor to Age of Autism. I'm associated with some other charities. And what I'm hearing on my Facebook page and other communities is that we want to see kids like ours on television. The Good Doctor, that's great. I love it. It's a wonderful series. I love the actor. Good writing. They've really polished that. It's a remake of a South Korean series. But people like me are saying we want to see kids like ours. And so that's what my series does in part.
Right. Well, I met Dan through Rotary, and Rotary does a lot for many causes, including autism. And I'll just give a short plug for Rotary. I just joined Rotary earlier this year, and I've really enjoyed the community of people that are trying to do good works and help other people. And I've had an opportunity to meet people like Dan who are taking significant time out of their life to do good work and try to make our world a better place. So you're going to have the video available on the web, and then you're hoping to raise money to further awareness. And do you have a goal of recreating your ranch at some point, or?
Well, my hope is that other people will take the dream and recreate it. I found out, among other things, I'm not that great a ranch hand, but there are people out there who do this kind of thing, and I hope to inspire with this vision other folks who want to get in and be part of the solution.
Right, because one of the challenges in the autistic community is that severely impacted young people, their caregivers, their parents get old and are unable to take care of them, and there's not really great infrastructure in place to provide safe and fulfilling housing for these young men as they grow older.
That's true. And four out of 5 of these autistic youngsters are men. But Sue and I are in our 70s, early 70s, and we're finding we just don't have the strength and energy to do for our 30-year-old son what we could do when he was 5 or 10 years old.
Right.
And that brings up the whole view of mortality. We're not going to be here forever. Who is going to take care of our son? Autism, you mentioned autism as an epidemic. That's actually considered, that's the term that we use, but it's considered by other communities inflammatory because the official word is there is no autism epidemic. Anybody who talks to a special education teacher has a different point of view. But Ben is 30 years old. He's on the leading edge of the autism wave that began about 1987 to 1990 when we saw the incidence of autism just hockey stick. And so we've been pioneers reluctant pioneers.
Right, you didn't choose this
we
role, it chose you.
Exactly, and so it's been a learning curve for us. We've been through every aspect of the medical procedures, the getting the school system ready, trying to find care for him when he's older, and I'm telling you, there's a great need. There are millions of these kids now, and there are going to be young adults, and there are more coming every day. So, we need to get ready.
Yeah. So, I mean, we need to build public awareness, and people need to write their elected officials and promote, more generous programs to assist. And of course, many people that are needy or have issues are falling through the cracks. Many of them end up homeless on the street.
That's right.
Suffering, great degradations and causing harm to our society. It breaks my heart when I see a young man who's very troubled out on the street. Went past one today on my way here to the studio. Sad case, young life, just in disarray, out panhandling for money to live on.
Yeah, and behind every individual like that, there's a family that is also broken.
Right.
When we had the ranch, we had one father bring his 21-year-old son unexpectedly to drop him off, and we said, well, where's the paperwork? And they said, well, it's on the way, but will you take him for a few weeks and see how he works out? And if it doesn't work out, just take him to the nearest homeless shelter and drop him off.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So they just had really hit their breaking point.
They hit their breaking point, and he was gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just unbelievable. As a parent, I just can't imagine what you've been going through. I have two children that have some issues with nonverbal learning disorders, which is a tiny little problem compared to what you're dealing with your son. But anytime you have a child that isn't, quote, the typical perfect child, it's tragic and it takes a lot of energy out of you. And one of the things that organizations can do is provide some support and encouragement to other parents who have autistic children. And they can see that they're not alone, that they're not just a 1 out of a million occurrence, that it's actually more like 1 in 58 kids.
Yeah, we're encouraging Rotary clubs to follow our footsteps and adopt what we've called the Devon Buddy system. And that is, you take neurotypical, which means a non-impaired, normal high school kids, and you pair them up with autistic teens and young adults in a public service project like Keep Dallas Beautiful.
Right.
Yeah, and this serves as an education for the neurotypical teens, the non-impaired teens, and a little bit of support for the parents and the autistic, or the child with autism. So we had a cleanup project recently with Keep Dallas Beautiful. Several Rotary clubs participated, several high schools participated.
Yeah, I was very pleased with the number of high school volunteers. Many times we think that high school kids are entirely selfish and very unaltruistic, but schools encourage kids to do community service, and so this gets them out into the world of enjoying the satisfaction of doing something to help society. And these high school kids came out and picked up trash with several autistic kids and provided a social experience for them, because many autistic kids are pretty isolated, aren't they?
They are. Part of the problem is 90% of the autistic adults are either unemployed or underemployed. And that means they don't have the socialization of the workplace, and they don't have the social skills to get out. Many of them don't have the social skills to get, most of them don't drive, to get out and participate in community events. So that means that we need to go to them. Now, the question with these kids is, and I'm going to call them kids even though I'm meaning young adults too, because my child is 30, and in my mind he's a kid.
Well, in many functional ways he is a kid.
In many functional ways he is a kid. The question is, what do these kids who are so needy and so in need of support give back to the societies that support them? We've looked at entrepreneurial solutions, and I haven't given up on that yet, although when the kids can only work a few hours a day, maybe 6 hours a day, that's a limitation. But I've concluded in my own mind that what they give back is their smiles, their love, and their hope. And they actually share hope with us by being receivers of our care. Jean Vanier, who was the founder of a movement for disabled adults, says something, and I want to read you a sort of a long quote. It's partly a poem, and I think it points to a real truth. It says, if you enter into a relationship with a lonely or suffering person, you will discover something else. That it is you who are being healed. The broken person will reveal to you your own hurt and the hardness of your heart, and also how much you are loved. Thus, the one you came to heal becomes your healer. That's been my experience with Ben.
Well, that's a powerful quote, and something that is awful easy. It's awful easy as someone who is unimpaired to be kind of sanctimonious, think I've got it made, and this poor person has got it all going wrong. But we're all fallen sinners in God's eyes, and to some extent, seeing how someone perseveres through a severe disability can give us light that we're all disabled in our own way.
That's true.
And so what else are your goals to see your organization do going forward? You're hoping to raise some money, and I hope people who are watching the show and who are moved or have an autistic kid will give to autism causes. There's a number of organizations. Dan is just one, but of course I like small charities that are motivated by the driving desire of the founder to do good works in the world. And so I hope that the audience will support this organization and keep tuned into their website as they grow and develop.
Yeah, I think your organization is a good one also. If I can give some specifics here, we want to do 6 to 8 web episodes, about 15 or 20 minutes each. We're using professional talent who's working on part union wages, deferred payment, but even bare bone structure. It'll cost us about $5,000 an episode to produce these 6 to 8 episodes, so say $40,000 for the series. So right now we're looking for $5,000 to produce the first one. We've had some generous donations, and we need more of them.
Well, I hope if you enjoyed the clip, you'll think about supporting this autism series, which can help illuminate people's mind. And I hope you'll also keep tuned in to the website for when the show goes live and promote it on your social media and other ways. Just like I hope you'll promote this show, if you've enjoyed it, to your friends and family and your network of social media friends. Because that's really the modern way to get word out, and it can be very effective. If your video series goes viral, it could reach many, many people and move people to take action, to make the changes our society needs to deal with this, quote, not officially epidemic of autistic kids that are coming up. Because like he's saying, there's a huge bulge of kids coming up that are now in their parents' care and largely invisible because, as he said, 90% don't have jobs, they stay home, they're in their room, and they're kind of out of sight, out of mind. But what happens when the parents are unable to take care of the child, or when the parents are deceased? So we have a real issue in this country, and we need to be thinking soulfully and prayerfully about it to work on it. So what else can we do to promote the autism awareness? Are there some other organizations that you really think deserve mention today?
I wish I'd brought a list of them with me, but the ones that come to mind are Talk About Curing Autism.
Talk About Curing Autism.
The short version of that is TACA, T-A-C-A.
Okay.
And then well, you know, that's the one that's top of mind for me right now, because we're having
So
a talk.
TACA.
We're having a talk, a speaker at our Rotary Club in a couple of weeks. Now, locally, there's the Autism Treatment Center in Dallas. They're doing very good work. I know the founder. She's been doing this for 30 years. You know, 30 years ago, or even 20 years ago, the autism rate was 1 in 10,000. Now it's 1 in, I'm thinking mid-60s, say 68 kids by age 4. And that's 1 in 50 boys, because it's far more prevalent in boys. So we're seeing this. We're seeing this now. Anyway, the Autism Treatment Center has been doing this for 30 years, and they're good at it. It's a charitable organization, and they need support.
Okay, so, and people can log on to your website and contact you for information about other areas that they can help, and there's TACA. What was the organization we heard about yesterday about the autism work?
That's called
study?
Non-Pareil. It was founded by Gary Moore about 10 years ago. You know, autism is a spectrum from the low functioning to the savant. Gary takes the people in the middle who have maybe some special skills but lack savant skills, but still mostly are verbal. And many of these kids are, you'll see them on their iPhones or their iPads. They're fascinated by technology. They're good at it, and Gary takes them and teaches them how to program and create.
No, I thought he gave a great talk yesterday, and you know, I think when you seek out things you can do in your life, you always want to pick a task that you can really make a difference at and succeed. You don't want to choose the task that's impossible. Just like Dan is not trying to cure autism, he's not trying to come up with some miracle. He's doing something very grassroots, trying to build awareness and help people realize that they're not alone in this battle and encourage people to take actions to help our society cope with this rising wave of autism. So, I mean, I know when I was young, autism was really a non-issue. It was an extremely rare phenomenon. Like you said, 1 in 10,000 kids. Mm-hmm. Now we're at 1 in 68. I mean, that's an incredible change. Regardless of what people say, maybe that isn't an epidemic by some people's standards because it's not 1 in 10, but it's a really high rate of prevalence that we need to really think about hard and pray about hard. Pray that there's an answer to why this epidemic has sprung up so badly in our society. And this is a worldwide problem, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So it's not just an American issue. It's
every country, Africa, Japan, Asia.
Well, I think it's hard to define. A complex problem is hard to isolate. Why did this all of a sudden occur? And so we pray that there's going to be some awareness and changes can be made to reduce the rate of incidence of autism. And I look forward to seeing your video when it's on the web, and I hope that people will tune into it. As always, I try to bring people on who are making a difference in the world, and Dan is trying to make a difference in his own way here. And I think that, so again, your primary activity right now is trying to raise money for this video series.
That's correct.
To promote the video series and see it widely distributed and watched, which is a noble calling. I hope people have enjoyed the video clip that we showed earlier, and will look at his website and keep in touch and get a chance to watch this thought-provoking web series that's going to be coming out in the near future. And please consider donating to the cause to help this video production get done. Dan is sacrificing a lot personally for this, but he can't do it alone.
I can't do it alone, and the reason I draw back a little bit at sacrifice is what else would I be doing? I mean, it's
well, you could be playing golf.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. There's a lot of people out there that aren't doing very damn much to help their fellow man.
Well,
and that's one of the things I try to encourage people to say, if you're a follower of Christ, you need to help the poor. The poor represent Christ on earth, and that's how you should treat the poor and the needy and the afflicted. And so the reason I had you on my show is because I think you aren't living the life of leisure. You didn't turn your kid into an agency and walk away from him. You're being a loving father to him and taking care of him.
And let me tell you, it's a second life. I spent the first part of my life making money, basically, and paying the rent and, raising, I had 2 neurotypical kids, normal kids, and sending them to college. And then they graduate and they're on their own, and then what? Then what? Well, then you do what you wish you could have done when you were 21. And that is find a purpose, live into it.
Well, and you're doing that, and I think it says a lot that at 71, instead of sitting back and living a life of leisure, you're devoting yourself to a cause and trying to move the ball forward. And
I recommend it.
Yeah, well, and you're entirely undefeated. You have a positive outlook on life, and you've been a joy to get to know at Rotary, and we have a nice small Rotary group that networks, and I strongly recommend people look into joining Rotary as a way to give back to the community, because Rotary is a service organization that does charity both through donations and donations of time and service, like this Keep Dallas Beautiful event that the Rotary went to, where we helped the kids pick up trash and beautify a city park.
Yeah, it's the Dallas North Rotary promoting the Devon Buddy System. We meet Tuesday at noon at Greek Isles Restaurant. We would like to have even more visitors and guests, and throughout October, we're having programs on autism, and it would be a good place to get started.
So if you're interested in autism and interested in learning more about Rotary, look up Rotary on the web, and we'd love to have you come to our club or another club. A brief plug for our sponsoring organization, Greater Dallas Coalition. We're having monthly meetings that are always very positive. We're doing outreach in the community. We are still doing our ongoing counseling and college preparatory work with the Dallas Champions Academy, which information will be on the screen here shortly. Sure enjoyed having you, Dan, and best wishes on your program.
You're so empathetic. I feel blessed to be here.
Thank you for being here.